Good morning. Please take your seats. In the 34 years I have sat in this chair, I have witnessed the full spectrum of the human experience. I have seen the absolute best of us, and I have seen the very worst. I have looked into the eyes of teenagers crushed by a single mistake, desperate to make amends, and I have looked into the eyes of adults who have never learned the meaning of the word consequence. But every once in a while, a case comes through those doors that shakes me to my very foundation. A case that forces me to remember why we are here, why the law isn't just ink on a page, but the soul of our community. It forces us to ask, do we live in a society where justice is blind, or one where money and privilege build a wall around the fortunate few? Today is one of those days. We are here to address a matter that has tested my patience and challenged my faith in our collective decency. It has forced me to look at what happens when we raise young people to believe that rules are merely suggestions and respect is optional. Before we proceed, let me restate the non-negotiable principles of this courtroom. This is a sacred space. Here, we treat every human being with dignity. We listen, we weigh the truth, and we apply the law equally to everyone. It does not matter if you are a janitor or a judge, a struggling student or a CEO, homeless or living in a mansion. In this room, your bank account is irrelevant. Your last name buys you nothing. Your father's influence ends at that door. The only things that matter here are the facts, the law, and whether you have endangered the lives of others. Here is why we are gathered. The defendant, Victoria Ann Ashford, is a 26-year-old woman born April 7, 1998. She lives at 2340 Woodland Terrace in West Hartford. She is the daughter of Charles Ashford, the CEO of Ashford Capital Group, a firm managing over $600 million in assets. But let me be clear, on this cold December morning, her pedigree means nothing. Her father's portfolio means nothing. What matters is what she did, and what she did was display a level of arrogance and contempt for human life that I have rarely seen in 3 decades on the bench. Let's look at the facts, because they are both infuriating and heartbreaking. 4 months ago, on September 9th, 2024, at roughly 5:15 p.m., a time when kids are coming home from school, when families are cooking dinner, when our elderly neighbors are out for a walk, Victoria Ashford was driving through the Parkville neighborhood. She was behind the wheel of a massive 3-ton machine, a 2020 black Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon with chrome accents, license plate AF9723, a vehicle costing $148,000. She was driving this tank at 82 miles per hour, in a residential zone posted for 25 miles per hour. I want that to sink in. 82 in a 25. She was flying down Maple Avenue, between Prospect Street and Park Terrace. This is a quiet, tree-lined street where families have lived for generations, where children ride bikes and people walk their dogs. But the speed, as deadly as it was, is only the start of this story. When she was pulled over by Sergeant Robert Chen, badge number 412, a dedicated 21-year veteran who has served Hartford since 2003, the situation turned from dangerous to disgraceful. When Sergeant Chen approached her car at 5:22 p.m. and asked the standard question, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" he was met not with an apology, not with concern, but with entitlement. I have read the police report, case number HT0240967731, multiple times to ensure I wasn't hallucinating. Her exact words to this officer were, "Do you have any idea who I am? My father owns more property in this city than you'll earn in 10 lifetimes. I suggest you think very carefully about what you do next, because one phone call from me and you'll be directing traffic in the worst neighborhood in this city by Monday morning." When I first read that, I had to put the file down. I walked to my window and looked out at the city, wondering how we created a society where a 26-year-old feels comfortable threatening a public servant. This isn't a mistake. This is a worldview. It is the mindset of someone taught that the rules simply do not apply to her. She saw Sergeant Chen not as a protector of the peace, but as an obstacle to be crushed. Astonishingly, it got worse. Sergeant Chen deserves public commendation for his restraint. He stayed professional. He ignored the threats. He calmly explained she was doing 82 in a 25, that she had blown through a stop sign at Maple and Prospect at 5:18 p.m., and that she was a danger to the public. He told her she was receiving citations and had to appear in court. Victoria Ashford's response? She pulled out her iPhone and started recording. She live-streamed the interaction to social media. And she laughed. She actually laughed at him. In the video, which is Exhibit D in our file, she tells her followers, Watch me deal with this pathetic power tripper who thinks he can intimidate me. Sergeant Chen issued 3 citations at 5:37 p.m. Reckless endangerment, excessive speeding, and failure to obey traffic devices. Citations H099451, H099452, and H099453. He did everything right. He documented the clear weather, the location, the car. That is professionalism. If it ended there, today might be different. A first offense, faced with remorse, might warrant a heavy fine or community service. But it didn't end there. By 7:45 p.m. that same night, Victoria Ashford posted multiple videos to her 73,000 Instagram followers. She posted the dashcam footage. She posted videos mocking Sergeant Chen, imitating his voice, and using slurs I will not repeat here. She captioned one video, "When minimum wage meets maximum entitlement," and another, "Imagine thinking you have authority over me." These posts, exhibits E through H, racked up 38,000 views in 24 hours. She turned a crime into content. She turned a public servant into a punchline. And yet, here is what keeps me awake at night. 6 days later. September 15th, 2024. 2:47 in the afternoon. A doorbell camera at the home of Thomas and Patricia Reynolds at 416 Maple Avenue, the exact same street, captured her again. Same black G-Wagon, same license plate, AF9723. Experts estimate she was doing 75 miles per hour. 6 days after being cited. 6 days after threatening an officer. She was back doing the exact same thing, as if the law was a joke. I have presided over this court since 1990. I have dealt with addiction, with bad judgment, with kids from broken homes who made terrible choices because they knew no better. I have shown mercy. I have given second and third chances because I believe in redemption. But compassion without accountability is just enabling. It tells people they can hurt others and get away with it. What disturbs me here isn't just the speed, it is the pattern. It is the total absence of empathy. When I see the threats on September 9th, the mockery that night, and the repeat offense on September 15th, I see someone who has been shielded from consequences her entire life. I also need to address something deeply troubling. Since charges were filed, her father, Charles Ashford, has been busy. Between September 20th and November 8th, my office received 9 phone calls and 6 letters trying to influence this case. A law firm suggested a $90,000 donation to the Police Foundation might make this go away. I had visits from State Representative Michael Patterson, Councilman Jonathan Sterling, and Chamber of Commerce President David Morrison. They all said the same thing. Victoria has learned her lesson. Consider her father's position. Don't derail her future over a youthful mistake. Let me be crystal clear to everyone in this room and everyone watching. I do not care how wealthy your father is. I don't care about your connections. I don't care if you donate $90,000 or $900,000. Justice is not for sale here. Wealth is not an immunity card. When I sit with this case, I don't think about her father's money. I think about the families on Maple Avenue. I think about the parents terrified by the sound of a speeding engine. I think about 77-year-old George Harrison, a retired postal worker who crosses that street every day at 2:30 p.m. On September 15th, he was 3 minutes away from being in the crosswalk when she flew by. 3 minutes. I think about 8-year-old Sarah Chen playing in her yard just 20 minutes before Victoria tore through at 75 Mimpos. I have 6 grandchildren. My youngest, Nicholas, is 5. When I imagine someone driving 82 miles per hour while he rides his tricycle, it makes me physically ill. We are lucky no one died, but luck is not a strategy. The prosecution, led by Assistant State's Attorney Jennifer Walsh, recommends a strict sentence, 90 days jail, $15,000 fine, and license suspension. The defense, led comfortably by Mr. Marcus Rodriguez, asks for leniency, a $5,000 fine and community service, citing her lack of criminal record, her college degree, and her career. I have listened to both sides. I have reviewed the videos, the reports, and the timeline. I keep coming back to the purpose of sentencing. Is it to punish, to deter, to protect? It must be all three. Usually I can balance mercy and justice. But this case involves a pattern of behavior that screams a need for a wake-up call. To the argument that she is young. At 26, Victoria Ashford is not a child. She is a college graduate. She is an adult. She is old enough to vote, marry, and sign contracts. She is certainly old enough to know that driving 82 in a neighborhood is deadly. She is old enough to know that you do not threaten police officers. And she is old enough to know that when you get caught, you don't go out and do it again 6 days later. This isn't youthful indiscretion. This is a lifetime of never being told no. Justice today demands we protect the future Sarah Chens and George Harrisons. It demands we vindicate Sergeant Chen. It demands we send a message that the law applies to everyone, regardless of their last name. So, here is my decision. On the first count of reckless endangerment from September 9th, 2024, I sentence you to 120 days in the Connecticut Department of Correction. On the charge of threatening a law enforcement officer, I'm adding 60 days to be served consecutively. On the second count of reckless endangerment from September 15th, I am adding another 90 days, also consecutive. That is a total of 270 days, 9 months. You will serve this at the York Correctional Institution in Niantic. There will be no early release, no work release, no special treatment. You will follow the same rules as every other inmate. I am also imposing a fine of $25,000 to be paid within 90 days. This will be split between the Victims of Traffic Violence Fund, the Hartford Public Schools Safe Streets Initiative, and the Hartford Police Department's community programs. Your driver's license is suspended for 4 years, effective today until December 19th, 2028. After that, you must retake all driving exams, complete a 40-hour safety course, and perform 250 hours of community service with trauma victims or street safety groups. You are prohibited from driving a car during this suspension. If you are caught driving, you will face a minimum of 1 additional year in prison. I see the shock in the room. Some think this is too harsh. Others, not harsh enough. 9 months is enough time to understand that actions have consequences that Daddy cannot fix. It is time to reflect. But it does not destroy her life. She will be out by next September, still young, with a chance to do better. The 4-year suspension will teach her that mobility is a privilege, not a right. To the public, I am making an example of her, not because she is rich, but because of the arrogance she displayed and the danger she caused. If she had shown remorse and stopped after the first time, we wouldn't be here. But she chose contempt. To the parents watching, teach your children that wealth does not make them superior. Teach them to respect the law. If you shield them from every consequence, you are not protecting them. You are preparing them for failure. And finally, Victoria Ashford. You are 26. You have a long life ahead. When you walk out of prison in 9 months, you have a choice. You can be bitter and blame me, or you can choose to grow. You can choose to understand that other people matter. I hope you make the right choice. I do not want to see you back here. I do not want to read that you finally killed someone. I want to believe you can change, but that starts with accountability. This court is adjourned. The defendant is remanded into custody immediately. Reporting date is December 23rd, 2024. Bailiff, please proceed.